Shabbat Shalom.
It is so lovely to be together tonight as we welcome Shabbat. Thank you to everyone here in this room and also everyone joining us online for helping us create community tonight as we enter the space of Shabbat together.
It's so great to be together. We hope you'll join us throughout the service by participating, especially in song. We're going to sing together, Hine Matov, how good it is, how sweet it is to be together. You can find those words, that prayer, in your blue Mishkan Tefillah prayer book, the smaller of the two blue books. You can go ahead and find that on page 10.
Hinei matov u'manayim, Shabbat achim gam yachad. Hinei matov u'manayim, Shabbat achim gam yachad. Hinei matov u'manayim, Shabbat achim gam yachad.
It's our custom at this moment in the service to continue to build community by saying hello to one another. So we'd love to invite you to find someone near you or maybe a little far from you. Meet them if you don't know each other with Shabbat Shalom. We are going to continue by welcoming in Shabbat with the candle lighting on pages 2 and 3, and the dads of our 3 B'nai Mitzvah have volunteered to lead us through this part of the service, so we would love to invite them up to the bima at this time. Thank you guys so much. Stand in the center.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all those who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge of which we live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives.
Bless all who enter the sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Baruch atah
We will continue in just a moment with L'Chadodi on page 20, our song officially welcoming in Shabbat. It is our custom as we reach the last verse to rise and turn to face the door to symbolically welcome in Shabbat. And tonight, we'd love to invite you as we sing through these verses to think, if you'd like to, and maybe to feel or to breathe your way into what are you most hoping to let go of this Shabbat? What is in your week that maybe is better left behind and sort of symbolically sent out those doors as we sing this song? And what do you most hope to welcome in this Shabbat, whether it is joy or rest or learning or community or connection or just a little bit of time to breathe and pause. So we'll begin on page 20 and continue through page 21. Call to prayer is on page 28.
gather thy, gather thy.
Top of page 30. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, uvitbuna meshane itim, umahalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtsono. Borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei hoshech v'hoshech mipnei or. Umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil bein yom uvein laila, Adonai tzivaot shemo. El hai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. And on the top of page 32, let's read in Hebrew these words about the place Torah can have in our life. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael amcha ahavta, Torah umitzvot, hukim umishpatim, otanu limadata. Al kain Adonai Eloheinu, b'shochvenu uvkumenu, nasiach behukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratacha, uv'mitzvotacha leolam va'ed. Ki hem hayinu ve'orach yaminu, uvahem negeh yomam v'layla, ve'ahavtaha al tasir mimenu leolamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Please have a seat. We continue on page 36. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'otecha v'chayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta b'ham v'shivtecha v'veitecha uv'lektecha v'aderech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha ug'shartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha ug'tavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'yisharecha le'man tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, lihiot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet. We're currently in a section of our service that is very much about the question of what we can do as a collective when we notice the world around us, as we observed in the Ma'ariv Aravim, when we commit to acting in the way we think is right in response to the mitzvot, as we notice in the V'ahavta, and also when we take time to celebrate in community, which is where the Michamocha will take us in a moment. I wanted to share with you a little bit at this moment in the service, this moment where we're dwelling on different forms of collective action and their possibility, about a piece of how I spent my week. I'm returning to TRS today after spending a lot of the week at the CCAR conference in San Francisco. The CCAR is the Central Conference of American Rabbis, the professional body of Reform rabbis in North America. And every year, our conference is in a different city. It's an opportunity to learn and connect with other rabbis and also other clergy and scholars, not just from all over North America, but also from all over the world. This year's CCAR theme, which I was very moved by, was bridges. Building them, crossing them, not crossing them, pausing to rest and reflect and maybe say a blessing in the middle of them. We learned about building bridges forward in time with Stanford professor Lisa K. Solomon, who helped us think about what she called the practice of futuring, which was basically imagining the future that you hope for in detail, and then identifying how you can work for that future, how you might build a bridge for it. She shared with us a number of examples, especially from the tech world, and then we practiced futuring with questions about the Jewish community's future. We practiced crossing bridges across differences in perspective and life experiences in a number of panels where we got to hear different perspectives about democracy and anti-Semitism, and also one fascinating panel of American and Israeli speakers whose topic, to which they all had different responses, was "Who are we now?" ? The changing landscape of Jewish identity. I was particularly moved by the words of Rabbi Efrat Rotem, one of our colleagues in the Israeli Reform Movement, who spoke about the rise of extremism in her own society, particularly in the wake of the trauma of October 7th, and the importance of challenging this extremism with a different vision of what it does and can mean to be Jewish, and for her, also Israeli. I went to great breakout sessions about building rituals for moments in our lives that maybe don't have traditional rituals, but for which we can draw on Jewish tradition to create new rituals that speak to our moments and our needs throughout life. And about what Dr. Sarah Benor calls heritage words, which are words from Jewish ancestral languages and other ancestral languages too, that are passed down through the generations and help shape the identities of individuals and communities who might not speak the full language that the words are from, but are still connected or offered a bridge, if you want, to that set of customs that people who came before them had through these words that remain. It was a great opportunity to learn and be in community with really lovely people from all over the world who care a lot about the Jewish future, and also about what it means for all of our Jewish communities to work together for a better future for all people. Just like Shabbat is an opportunity to step back and reflect and hopefully re-enter the world after Havdalah, re-energized to engage with it, this conference was very much the same. And I'll put in a PSA that if you are not a rabbi and so you can't go to a rabbi conference or can't go to the Conference of Cantors in the summertime, the Reform Movement will be having its biennial in Philadelphia in December, and that's for all of us. And we'd love to have a huge TRS contingent there to continue more of this learning together. We are facing a lot of really serious challenges in our Jewish world and in our world in general. And as we navigate those challenges, it can be easy to forget that we have something really important, which is one another. Even, or maybe especially, when we don't see the world in fully the same way, we can be with each other, learn from each other, and grow together. The journey to a more whole future is a journey that we can and must take together and be enriched by what we can learn from each other, including from each other's differences. I am more grateful that I can say that we are all taking this journey together here in our community, and that we are connected to people far beyond our walls who are part of the journey too. The hope and joy and possibility we can tap into when we come together and notice that we are together is also at the heart of our next prayer. So let's join together in the Mi Chamocha on page 40.
Oh mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai, God Yisrael.
The Shamru is on the top of page 44.
Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael otei le'olam, otei le'olam, otei le'olam. Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et hashamayim v'et haaretz. Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayirafash, Shabbat vayirafash, Shabbat vayirafash. Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam.
We continue now with the Amidah. If it's comfortable, I invite you to rise. We're on page 46.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agit tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
Page 48.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Konei Hakol, v'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei v'Neihem, L'ma'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. הגיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל, אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממיץ ומחיה, ומצליח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. We continue singing together. It's so wonderful to hear your voices in addition to the wonderful sounds of our High Notes band. Let's continue that on page 56 as we join together in the prayer Ritzeh. On the next 2 pages, we have our prayer for gratitude. I invite you to take a moment, either reading one of these prayers in Hebrew or English, or reflecting on your own thoughts to find a moment of gratitude, modim anachnu lach, something you're grateful for this Shabbat evening. We continue with our prayer for peace. Shalom Rav is on page 60.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'odam. Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam.
We continue privately with the words of our hearts or the words of our prayer books. We'll come back together in a few moments for another prayer for peace on page 62.
Oseh shalom b'mroav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru
each come to Shabbat with our own reasons for being here. Some of us are coming in joy and celebration. Some of us are coming to share in music. And some of us are coming with hopes for healing. I will share our synagogue Mishaberach list, those of whom we are thinking of in our temple community for healing of the mind, body, and spirit. And then I'll invite anyone who'd like to add a name to that list to do so. We'll then share in our prayer for healing. This evening, we're thinking about in our synagogue community, Alon ben Barbara, Davida bat Mincha, Sam Clay, Bruce Glazer, Linda Kamen, Harriet Kaplan, Helene Kessler, Seth Lukash, Beth Penny, Ted Flaker, Michelle Price, Margie Scher, David Starkey, Marianne Suchbear, Charles Tievsky, Daniel Wadiska, and Sarah Jacobs.
Errol Ginsberg.
We think of all of those who are victims of violence, those in Israel, those suffering around the world, as well as those in service to our country, all who are in need of emotional, physical, and spiritual healing. We continue singing together on page 253. Wish healing, strength, and hope on this Shabbat.
We have reached the part of our service where we take a few moments to reflect on our weekly Torah portion and its relevance to our lives. And I am very excited today because this week's Torah portion is one of my favorites, Vayikra. Now, Vayikra, the first portion of Leviticus, was not always one of my favorite Torah portions. It may not be your favorite either. Vayikra describes in great detail the offerings of animals, fruits, and grains that the ancient priests would burn on an altar, first in the ancient Mishkan while traveling through the desert, and later in the temple in Jerusalem. Contemporary Jews often have a complex relationship with this part of the Torah, and for good reason. We no longer believe that killing animals and burning their meat or setting grains on fire is an effective way to communicate with God. We haven't believed this for thousands of years, and so we haven't done it for thousands of years. We don't have plans to start it back up. Some might say, what's the point of reading about it? What I'd like to briefly argue tonight is that if you move through the smoke and the blood of the sacrifices described in Vayikra, it becomes a really interesting exploration of our relationships. And at its core, it is about building and rebuilding bridges to ourselves, to each other, and to God. My own personal Vayikra turning point, when I became a really big fan of this Torah portion, came through reading some of the work of Dr. Jacob Milgram, who was a 20th century Leviticus scholar. In his book, Leviticus, a book of ritual and ethics, Milgram argues that modern alienation from Leviticus is often rooted in a false over-literalization of what we read. Did ancient people really think that they could contact God by burning food? Maybe. But, Milgram adds, all of their ritual actions had symbolic meaning too, and embedded within the sacrificial system were also some of their most important ethical values. Another way I think of this argument and other similar arguments in biblical scholarship is something like, ancient people, they did not have our technology, but they weren't morons. And that's sort of what this is, trying to get us to challenge us to think about. Specifically, Milgram says, they believed that offering sacrifices was a way not only to communicate with or build a bridge to God, but also to restore communications, to repair the bridge when it had been damaged, particularly by wrongdoing. The insight at the heart of this system, which feels really relevant to us today, was that wrongdoing can rupture our connection to other people, to God, and also to ourselves. This is something many of us are all too familiar with. Whether we are the people who have done something wrong in a given moment, the people who saw it and maybe couldn't stop it or felt part of it somehow, or the people who had something done to us that was really wrong and that sort of shook our moral core and sense of order, or even when we're some combination of all three at once. Many of us can probably think of a time when witnessing or participating in or experiencing harm or a violation of our ethical code made us feel cut off from other people, and maybe also from God, and maybe also ourselves. Doing something you think is wrong or having it done to you can be something that feels very lonely sometimes, can make you feel like maybe there's no one you can reach out to in the world. And what can feel really hard after a serious rupture is repairing a relationship or rebuilding our connections. And so the sacrificial system in Leviticus was meant as this really profound gift for the ancient Israelites and their descendants, that when chasms formed and hurt felt way too wide to cross, they would know through the sacrificial system that there was always a way back to each other, back to themselves, back to God. You may be thinking something like, okay, but the sacrificial system is not our way back, so why do we read about it? One reason, I think, is that although we are, thank goodness, not offering animals on an altar, we can learn a lot from some of the details of how they did it and what it symbolized. Take, for example, the sin offering, which is an offering that was meant to repair relationships after situations of unintentional harm. So I don't mean to hurt you, but I do, and now we're dealing with the consequences, or vice versa, or something collective. That was the world the sin offering was living in. Two of Milgram's insights about the sin offering have always really stuck with me. First, even though the harm was intentional, the person who committed it had to personally participate in the offering. So in the ancient temple, some of the offerings were situations where the priests would sort of do it and the people would know it was happening. But the sin offering was one where the person who had brought the offering also had a role to play in what happened next. No one else could do it for them, not entirely. Likewise, for us, when we cause harm, even if it wasn't on purpose, we also have a responsibility to participate in trying to repair it. It won't necessarily get done for us or in our absence or with our hope. The other piece of the sin offering that feels really interesting and relevant to us is that the blood, which the ancient Israelites believed had purifying powers, kind of like spiritual Clorox or similar, the blood was placed not on the person who had sinned, but on the altar, which they saw as their connection point with God. In other words, after an act of wrongdoing, it wasn't the actor who had to be purified. It wasn't the person who had to have the spiritual Clorox. It was instead the connection, the bridge between the person and God. Jewish tradition teaches that we ourselves, human beings, have souls and selves that are pure and whole. This is true even if we cause great harm, intentionally or unintentionally, or even when great harm has been done to us. What has been damaged in these situations, what is most in need of repair, is relationship and connection. What has not been damaged, according to Jewish tradition, is our innate potential to live a good life and do what is right. In other words, we can heal and we can be agents of healing for ourselves and for others. And now we have different rituals that sort of help us remember this and try to live up to it. But for the ancient Israelites, the way they did the sin offering was also this reminder that they didn't need to change themselves fundamentally. They needed to change their actions, and they needed to repair what had been broken in between themselves and others. The ancient Israelites' understanding of who could atone for wrongdoing was also very expansive in some fascinating ways. For example, our Torah portion has an entire section on how a chieftain, a leader, should bring an offering when they do the wrong thing. And the wording isn't if they do the wrong thing, but when they do the wrong thing. For the Torah, might did not make right. The language describing the process by which the leader atones also has a very interesting detail. It says that a leader offers a sin offering after they realize they have gone astray unintentionally, or when it has been made known to them. It's a subtle reminder of the importance of speaking up, and that we're in relationship with each other, and that even when someone is in charge, an in-charge person also needs the support of other people to think about how to do the right thing and how to go forward. Another interesting sacrifice in our Torah portion is the sacrifice offered on behalf of a community who have realized that they have collectively, as a community, done the wrong thing. In an era where it's common to hear talk of being on the right side of history or the wrong side of history, many of us are very aware that an entire community can definitely be engaged in profound wrongdoing, and hopefully can realize that and correct it, but that sometimes it takes generations for that kind of realization to happen. But sometimes fear that we might be in the wrong can cause us to double down, enter into a place of denial. Even if we start to realize that we or our community might have, as the Torah portion says, gone astray and had the matter escape our attention, we might really worry that if we were to acknowledge that we had done something wrong, that there would be no way forward, that we would be sort of branded or cast out, or that our community would. By offering a clear path to repair, our Torah portion makes it possible for a community to be open to learning and changing from each other and from others, even if a part of that learning is learning that they or we caused harm in the past. Of course, the ancient Israelites' specific path to repair in the case of communal wrongdoing, which involved all the elders of the community coming together and putting their hands on the head of a bull right before it was slaughtered, that's not probably going to be our path to repair. But what I think we can take from this is encouragement to be open and curious and humble, and to try to really believe that we and other people can change and grow and heal in relationship with each other, that there's always a tomorrow where something can be different. For me, this idea, which is at the heart of our tradition in many ways, is very powerful and also very challenging. Change, growth, and healing for ourselves and also for other people can be hard to fully believe in some days. It's easy to get discouraged. And yet, our Torah portion invites us to consider, if we did believe that positive change was possible for ourselves and for other people, what might we want to hope for and work for? What might we be open to learning about ourselves? What bridges would we want to try to cross or mend or build? What would be our first step in the direction of the repair that we had identified as necessary? One of the gifts of Shabbat and of our Torah portion, Vayikra, is the idea that it is never too late to make time for community and connection,
never too late to reach out in hopes of repair, and never too late to begin again. This Shabbat, my hope for all of us is that we can feel more and more in touch with a sense of our own agency, and especially our capacities for connection and healing and growth. Shabbat Shalom. Our next prayer, the Aleinu, is a prayer of hope for a better world that we can all build together. It's on page 282, and it's a pleasure to invite up the moms of our B'nai Mitzvah who are going to open the ark for us. Please come on up, and once the ark is open, we invite everyone to rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach lado en hakol, lateit gedula liotzer breshit, shehu notei shamayim v'yosed haaretz, umoshav ikaro b'shamayim ima'al, u'shchina tuza v'gavhei merabim, hu Eloheinu Elon, va'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei malach, malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Page 287.
May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved, each of us, for the peace we bring to others.
May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair.
Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas.
And light up the universe with the joy, the holiness, and the freedom of peace.
V'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech hakol haaretz bayom hahu v'yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
We are moving now towards the Mourner's Kaddish, and as we head into that space of memory, I invite you to take a moment, either with your own memories and thoughts or with one of the poems that begin on page 288 and continue for the next several pages. As I read our Kaddish list, I invite you to rise if it's comfortable for you when you hear the name of someone you are remembering tonight so that we can recognize your presence in our midst After I read this list, there will be time both to add the names of anyone you are remembering, whether they died recently, whether you are in the first year after their death of remembering them, whether this is near the anniversary of their death, or if they're just on your minds. So there will be time to hear this list and then time to add names as well as to correct any pronunciations that I mispronounce. This week, our community is offering condolences to Myra Roney on the recent death of her brother, Ed Wendell, and to Bruce Lesson on the death of his wife and our member, Rosalind Lesson. To their names, we also add the names of these individuals whose families are in Shloshim the first few weeks immediately following their death or following their funeral. Ira Benowitz, brother of Ruth Van Winkle. John Bloom, father of Stephen. Jay Brill, brother of Gary. Arlene Gugick, sister of Gail Gershman. Janice Luke Koike, mother of Sarah Abiusi. Janet Miller, mother of Lori Dicker. Rhoda Schulman, mother of Robert. And Bob Weinberg, husband of Wendy. To these names, we add the following individuals whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of their death, falls near this time, including Diana Albert, Rose Applebaum, Edith Berkowitz, Ruth Bernstein Gold, Henry Bodek, Lenny Bronstein, Leonard Carmel, Sarah Carmi, Michael Chakand, Victor Cohn, George Cohn, Miriam Cook, William Davis, Nita Donner, Rita Ehrlich, Jean Endy, Gunther Erlbacher, Martin Fine, Albert Fleitman, Pauline Frank, Carrie Gillott, Edwin Goldring, Sheila Halpern, Francine Hansberg, Kimberly Hoffman, Samuel Janis, Amalia Josephs, John Kapler, Barbara Klausner, Elsie Karani, Jerry Lederberg, Esther Luce, Louise Levine, Miriam Levy, Seymour Maskell, Joel Moskowitz, Rabbi John Nimon, Freda Pesner, Doris Pincus, Mary Richards, Howard Rosenblum, Sidney Rubenstein, Paul Rudden, Sarah Rudolph, David Salzberg, Roger Seda, A. Daniel Shaw, Adeline Sheldon, Julius Smith, Wolf Spindell, Gerald Stern, Alfred Tibor, Morris Trabitz, Mark Unatin, Estelle Weiner, and Casriel Zeisler. If you have a name to add or a pronunciation to correct, please do so as my hand moves around the room.
Casriel Zeisler, Dennis Zeisler, and Catherine Fine.
Zikronam livracha, may all of their memories be a blessing. The Kaddish is on page 294. Please rise if it's comfortable for you. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah. Be'alma divrach yirtei v'yamlik malhutei. B'hayehon uvyomehon uvchaed chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'gala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam omeh omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yinaseh. V'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei kutsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'hayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bin romav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved, as together we say again, Amen. Please have a seat. It is a pleasure now to turn the microphone over to Chelsea Rubin, who is a member of our Leadership Council, here to bring greetings and announcements. Thanks for being here, Chelsea.
Thank you. All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
On behalf of the TRS Executive Board and Leadership Council, I'm honored to welcome you to our worship service tonight. It's great to be together, whether you're in person or joining us via streaming. If you're new to Temple Rodef Shalom, it would be a joy to welcome you properly and tell you more about our wonderful community. Please feel free to approach me or one of our clergy during the Oneg Shabbat reception after the service. Please see the inside of your program for a selection of our upcoming programs. Details about the second night Seder, Passover morning festival service, Matzah Brai brunch, Yitzkor service, Improv night at Beit Cafe, and inclusive Havdalah service are there. Our entire program calendar and details can be found on the website. We hope to see you again soon. Shabbat Shalom.
I'd like to invite our B'nai Mitzvah to join me over here for Kiddush. Thank you so much, Chelsea, for those announcements. We're on page 5 as we bless the sweetness of Shabbat. I'll invite you all to rise and join us in reciting this blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai,
Please remain standing as you're comfortable and join us in singing the opening nigun that we started with. We'll invite you to remain at your seats for a moment after our service and to please return your program to the music stand at the back of the room if you're not going to keep it. This is a wordless melody. The words are yai, lai, lai, so we hope you'll join us. Thank you to High Notes Band. Yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai.
Be a Shabbat of rest and learning and connection, and most of all, peace. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Good job, everybody. Thank you.